welcome back to the channel and to my Path of Exile 0.3 Bone Cage Ritualist build. Very quickly how this build came about, a quick rant, shout out to Captain Lance, firstly for making his Mjolnir Hammer build, or Mjolnir Hammers build, where he had the idea of going Chaos Inoculation and mana stacking, and then using Mind Phylacteries on Ritualist to kind of have your charms covered, right? Because when you go Chaos Inoculation, you just instantly lose all your Stone Charm and Thawing Charm charges, and that was kind of his solution. Obviously, I'm not gonna touch on this part of the Ascendancy because it literally doesn't matter what you play as Ritualist, you want this here. But yeah, I just find it cute that he actually found the build that made actual use out of the Mind Phylactery. So I kind of tried doing a Spark mana stacker build with Ritualist, which turned out to be a travesty, or at least, you know, I didn't have enough currency in order to invest into it properly. So it was just kind of chilling in my in the hideout, I guess. For like 2 months, I wasn't playing the Ritualist at all. Then I came to the idea of just using Bone Cage, because it was a very, in my opinion, it was a very underused spell this season, this league. So I really wanted to make this work, right? Also, it was finally a build where I felt like, lore-wise, shall I say, comfortable using Atalui's Bloodletting. It's not that I didn't use it on any other build, right? But it does gain percent damage as extra physical, and then on any elemental build, it just kind of felt weird, where you want to go lightning or something, and then you just transform everything into you know what I mean. So Bone Cage is a physical spell, hence dropping Atalui's Bloodletting into it and just taking advantage of all that physical damage. Felt nice, so I was like, yeah, why not? I was also playing a lot of Chayula Monk, which showed me how powerful charges can be, with breaking armor and stuff, and yeah, I just decided let's make like a triple charge Bone Cage build on a spellcaster. So while we're here, let's just continue, let's just see how this build works. So we use a Spellslinger wand, or a dueling wand. You want at least level 18 with Detonate Dead. You saw in the quick showcase how Detonate Dead makes clearing very fast and very efficient. Any build that is not Atalui's Bloodletting is also using Life Tap, because we are using our life as spellcasting resource. Then we use Spell Cascade to cover more area, even though it reduces the area of effect. The fact that it drops 3 Detonate Deads makes it a really strong support gem for this spell and for Bone Cage as well. And then just energy retention in order to have it proc a bit more often. I think if we had another slot here, we would probably just take something like Fluke, or the other energy, you know, retention, where it can refund 35% of the cost or something like that. Just, yeah, more energy retention would be basically what I would take here. Sigil of Power, just to drop it when we encounter a boss to gain a bit more extra damage. It will remain at stage 1. Here we slot in Prolonged Duration, Cooldown Recovery, Magnified Area, and Rapid Casting. For the Bone Cage, our main spell, so we are using Atalui's Bloodletting in order to get that insane massive amount of damage on it. Works really nicely together with Wrath Spit. Armor Break 3 to get our Endurance charge, so that is the first charge that we are getting on on our triple charge build. Brutality 3, since we are using a wand that has 0 elemental damage, and I'm not getting any elemental damage anyway from any other source or chaos damage. Brutality 3 is really good because sometimes we can ignore the enemy physical damage reduction, and also it appears to be stronger, like at least a tooltip makes it stronger than Heft. So I'm just using this one, and then for bosses I will slot in Heft also instead of the armor break. Mobility, this is a very high mobility, as you saw in the showcase, a really nice high mobility character. You do want a nice boot investment, because we are also using freedom of movement and unhindered, which just make this really practical and, like, you know, a really nice chill mapping experience. So mobility synergizes perfectly. You could also do this for bosses and remove mobility, right? But I just prefer having that like, you know, that strafe option when they're trying to turn around and like hit you with with something huge, and you can just keep strafing them and casting. So yeah, Spell Cascade obviously just for the better and nicer clear. Frost Bomb is here just as a placeholder because we are allocating gem enthusiasts, so just make sure that you have 10 of each support gems. And please guys, keep in mind the gems that are slotted into your second weapon set, so the Sigil of Power, these do not count. Meaning on my build I basically need 11 strength, 11 dexterity and 12 intelligence, because these do not count towards spell gem enthusiast while you are in your weapon set 1. Right. So as defensive layers on this build, we are using Time of Need and Blasphemy. Both of these are kind of, you know, quote-unquote not necessary, shall I say. You can kind of fool around. These are the flex spots. You can kind of play around with what you would like to do here, but I really like taking Blasphemy with Heightened Curse for that really powerful slow effect on all of the monsters in our vicinity, in our presence. And I also found a Megalomaniac with Melding. I wanted to take Melding because, as you see, we are stacking a lot of Energy Shield, and Melding is kind of far away to path to. So for our Megalomaniac, we took Melding, and Time Manipulation. Debuffs you inflict have 10% increased slow magnitude. So, you know, synergizes really nice with Blasphemy. I think it gives me something like 5% extra slow inflicted, which is nice. Time of Need, just because this is the curse meta, the cursed meta, right? So having the option and considering how close we are to the enemies, in a way, like our Bone Cage, we aren't using Astral Projection, we are relying only on Detonate Dead to clear monsters further away. So yeah, I just like using Time of Need in order to clear all the, you know, elemental ailments and curses every 5 seconds. What is necessary for the build if we want to go triple charges is charge regulation. Now keep in mind, charge regulation you want at a high of level as possible, because it does get stronger. Like, you get more critical hit chance, more defenses, more skill speed when the level goes up, right? So you kind of want 80 dexterity, 80 intelligence at least. So 80 dexterity, you are gonna be rocking 157 intelligence for that level 20 spell gem, so Bone Cage gem anyway, but 80 dexterity is the maximum, let's say, you're gonna need if you go for level 19. Charge regulation, you could also corrupt it to be level 19 plus 1, obviously. Level 20 is really expensive. Level 20 spirit gems are really expensive, so, you know, if you want to get that slight boost, then you can also go level 20 and you'll need a bit more dexterity. For the Combat Frenzy, however, just get as low of a possible spell gem, as low level as possible, because you really do not need a high level, and it requires only dexterity as a attribute requirement for the Combat Frenzy. So I would just recommend take a very low. The lowest is level 8. I have a level 10 here. It could probably take a few levels higher, you know, but you don't need it. You really don't need a high level Combat Frenzy. So yeah, that's for the Spirit Gems. Profane Ritual, which I just weave it in while I'm casting. You know, I have it on my middle mouse button, so while I am simply holding down Bone Cage, I will just spam a few Profane Rituals while I am mapping, and it will simply keep me at full stacks. We are using Life Tap, Overabundance, Swift Affliction. Both of these make it so that the ritual lasts a really short time, and then you quickly can ramp up your charges. Charge Profusion, obviously, because why not, and Spell Cascade, so that we get 3 casts while we only have to press it once. Enfeeble is just there for the bosses, and then when when I'm doing rituals, when I am opening Abyss Pits, I will just drop Enfeeble on the ground so that so that we have a little bit of a damage reduction coming in from the enemies. We slot that with Life Tap, Prolonged Duration, Focused Curse, Cursed Ground, and Heightened Curse. And then finally Bone Storm, which is here literally just as a placeholder for the gems. Just so you know, guys, this was originally the skill that I wanted to build around before I realized that Wrath Spit specifically says it only works with non-channeling spells, because I was like, wait, why is nothing changing on the tooltip when I'm using Wrath? Well, because it's a channeled spell. You could, however, still use it if you want to, you know, you could still use it just for exploit weakness for the bosses. So when you come to a boss, you could still like keep your armor break, right? You would break the boss's armor and then you would just like literally hit it with one spike to consume the fully broken armor, and you can then continue casting Bone Storm to break the armor again, just in order to keep those charges up even during bosses. I don't know, I really don't bother using these at all when I'm bossing, so yeah. You could also have a third skill here, or an extra spirit skill, turning charge regulation and combat frenzy on and off when you come to a boss, maybe even time of need, and then just add something more, like a cast on critical with even more damage or whatever. For me personally, however, I just, you saw the showcase. Sure, the boss takes like 20 or 25 seconds to kill over on this build. It's still fast enough because like I feel really safe while I'm using this build with like 9.5k shield, the 3k life, and also 1k, like that's just enough life and survivability for me as far as I'm concerned. One thing I would like to quickly point out is Time of Need and Blasphemy are kind of bugged. Not sure if this still happens, I think it does. But every time I enter maps, I just turn them on and off because Time of Need, sometimes the duration between blessings gets reset. I don't know why, when you enter maps, and then it just takes too long to proc. And Blasphemy, when you are using double curses, sometimes also just bugs out, where the enemies will get the Blasphemy effect on them, but then when you're gonna drop your second curse, this curse will simply override the Blasphemy, even though you are using, like on a leech, even though you are using the Ascendancy for double curses, or here, right, the Whispers of Doom. So I just kind of turn them on and off, and then it seems to work without problems every time. Right, then we go to the skill tree. There's a POB, or how's it called? There's a max roll guide for both of the versions of this build in the description. So if you guys want to check that out, you can do that. But we'll just quickly go through the tree here. Oh, very quickly before we continue, this is a 100% critical hit chance build when you're using Profane Ritual, right? Because it's gonna be relevant for a few things here. But yeah, once we trigger our spell, we go up to about 82, I think, and then once we trigger Profane Ritual and get charges, we are at 100% critical hit chance. Now, for me personally, I will be honest, while I map, you know, I did it for the recording. I was using Profane Ritual just for the showcase, and obviously the build revolves around having all 3 charges up, so I did it. But when I'm actually mapping with this build, I don't even bother using Profane Ritual, and getting that 100% crit chance doesn't do much for me, to be completely honest. But there's that option if you wanna, you know, stick to the theme. So the build relies heavily on energy shield. We are taking all of the big energy shield nodes that we can reach on the Ritualist. Also, we have melding here via the Megalomaniac Diamond. For our allocation on our amulet, we are using Gem Enthusiast, and then we are also focusing a lot on movement speed and skill speed in order to have a really high cast speed and to have a lot of movement speed, reduction or movement speed penalty reduction on our boots, on the skill tree, so that we can constantly like proc Bone Cage and just keep moving. We do need Chakra of Life with the life regeneration, and just 1 point in life recovery rate here will have you covered to ramp up that life recovery fast enough, and then you don't have to, on this build, you actually don't have to worry about getting Hail Heart. Later on, when I show you the second option, we will actually also be using Wildwood Persistence, because this is a really good node if you are going full life. We are relying on critical hits, like I said. Right, we are investing a lot into critical hits, so Careful Assassin, Evocational Practitioner, so that we are using our Spellslinger more often as well. True Strike, because why not, we also get some dexterity here, right? So yeah, critical hit chance is really important for us. Oh, right, and here we have the Controlling Magic, so that we also have a bit of a decreased critical hit chance against us. I really like using a medium to small medium Metamorphosis gem here. both of those work. Doesn't matter which one you get, just make sure you get as low minus to chaos and elemental resistances as possible, so that you will be able to round those up. Really good on this build, since we have a lot of energy shield, is Soul Bloom to increase the energy shield recovery rate, sudden escalation for the crit hit chance and the cast speed, and obviously Royal for the area of effect. Even though we lose a bit of damage, getting 25% increased area of effect is really nice for just 1 point and without having to pass towards it, so this is what I would recommend. And here obviously the From Nothing Radius of Resonance diamond, just to get spaghettification, True Strike, Spell Haste, Stylebender. Like, this is a really nice node for like attribute stackers and spellcasters in general. We are using Arcane Surge together with Sanguimantic Rituals, Mind Over Matter 100%. We don't care about how expensive, or you know, rather we like it when our spells are really expensive. So we are also using Overzealous here together with Zealous Oath. All of this life recovery just gets transformed into energy shield recovery, so we have something like 10k energy shield recovery, while energy and life and energy shield recovery while mapping, if not more. Finally, Sacrificial Blood for a very nice boost in damage, but yeah. Oh, Prism of Belief as a potential, right, as a potential upgrade. Please note that you could have Prism of Belief +3 here. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Just very quickly for the jewels, which I do find to be really important on this build, I would focus on getting as much increased maximum energy shield, as much as possible increased area of effect, and then one of them should have recovered 2% of maximum mana, the other one should have recovered 2% of maximum life on hit on kill. I don't have life on this build because I would say it's not that important to have life when you have 3k life and like 9.5k energy shield. But yeah, still it would be nice if we had that. And then finally you just fill everything out with cast speed and critical hit chance and stuff like that. Just, you know, take any cookies that you can. Yeah, that'll be it for this version. Maybe just to quickly mention, I'm using intricate sigils on my build just because my utility belt is not optimal. If I didn't need, if I was willing to invest like 5 divs just to get the same belt basically with 2 charm slots at least, I would take out intricate sigils and charm charges, take the 20% increased physical damage here, and just Wildwood Persistence for that tiny wee bit of extra recovery every time our life is low, but I really wouldn't say this is necessary on this version of the build. And very quickly, the reduced resistances, for me personally, I have enough resistances where I can just go reduced resistances here. However, you can also just always take 30% reduced maximum mana. Sure, that's kind of your life pool, right? That's kind of your life pool, but definitely better than reduced spirit. And if you are on a budget, if you cannot afford that many resistances, yeah, I would like, sure, you lose 200 or 300 life, but considering you're at 13k here, I don't think that's it's not much of an issue, right? So that's like one of your flex spots. Okay, very quickly, just if you would like to go with the classic full Lifestacker build, let me just very quickly make sure that we can use all of the items and all of the skills. But if you would really like to go with the classic like Veil of the Night and Chaos Heart build, what you can do... Oh, sorry. There we go, now we have enough intelligence, right? Yeah. Nothing's optimized here at this point. I just wanted to give you a quick showcase of what happens to the damage if you go down this route, right? You're at 1.2 million on the tooltip. You don't need any armor break, you don't need any spirit skills any longer because we have no spirit. You do have to understand that your survivability will go down quite a bit. Like, you're in a lot more danger when you're in high critical hit chance maps, when you're in high gain as extra lightning, gain as extra fire, gain as extra cold and stuff like that damage, when there's a lot of elemental damage flying around and a lot of crits flying around, because you are effectively at 11k EHP, and that's all you have, right? That's all you have. But yeah, something happens to the tooltip, right? Something really, really lovely happens to the tooltip here, where even the empowered bosses will just kill over in a second, right? When you play this build. Also keep in mind, if you go down this route, you don't need any elemental resistances on any gear at all, which would make it way easier to get even more stats, even more chaos resistance, and then better sockets in these items. Like you could go for max life in your wrath speed, you could have more cast speed here, yada yada yada. Just please keep in mind, you know, this is not optimized right now. I also have a second belt prepared here, which was really cheap, just to show you guys like what I would do with the skill tree if I was using this setup. But I'm gonna be honest, I mostly use the defensive setup. This is kind of the offensive setup. So what you would do is, you obviously don't need this intelligence point here, you don't need these 4 points of critical hit here, and you also do not need true strike here, for me personally at least. It was enough. I have enough critical hit chance with just taking a few points here and here, so I used all of these extra points to get even more area of effect. I would just slot it here to get all for 1, and then 2 points here to get spell area of effect. That's literally it. You don't need this point here, you would just respec a few points into intelligence here, right? And then that's literally it. That's the entire build. Also, like I said, I would take out the intricate sigils and charm charges. I would take 1 more point here and 1 more point here. I'm actually going to quickly showcase this to you guys, just so you see how quickly it ramps up. Like, if we're trying to ramp up our life regen now, you see how long it takes, right? Just ramping, there, now we're at a full. Now if I decide to swap it, if I decide to actually swap it here, let's just see how much damage we get. Just a little bit of extra damage, it's not much, but we are now at 0 life recovery. Now watch how fast I'm going to ramp this up. I drank a single life bottle. That's it. A single life flask, just in order to make sure the chain never stops. But this is what makes the build really useful for mapping, right? Because just sometimes you're gonna want to dodge and quickly sprint and get to the next pack or something, and then when you have to start quickly ramping up your health regen, you are really, really vulnerable, and that just helps a lot. So I would say Ritualist is actually a really good ascendancy when it comes to Louis bloodletting, tech rot combo, la 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 la. Yeah, and that is it. Those are both of the builds. That's how they work. Maybe if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, if you see how I could make the build even stronger, more consistent, more defensive, more survivable, whatever, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you're gonna try it out also, please let me know if you like it. If you find this build to be fun and a nice, you know, just a nice shake up from all the elemental damage and remnants that everyone else is playing. Just a nice little bone cage build that you can use in 0.3. So, you know, like, subscribe, comment, and yeah, I guess we'll see you next time. Thanks, bye bye.